The twist of today's story is going to be so horrifying that you might not see it in any other crime story. And what makes it so tragic is that none of the victims involved could have anticipated it coming. On June 19, 2017, police entered a charming farmhouse property in Idaho for a welfare check on the property's new occupants, a 60-year-old man, his 47-year-old girlfriend, and her daughter. They had just moved into the house with much excitement.
And I am back for another new video with my mom.
Hi.
But it had been days since anyone had heard from them. So obviously, there was definitely something wrong. The first cop enters the ranch and is immediately hit with an odor that makes him stop in his tracks. There was a shed close to the house, and that is where the smell seems to be coming from. The smell got stronger as he got closer. He had a feeling that he was about to discover something he didn't want to see, but still, he went on towards the shed. When he opened the door, he saw a blue tarp lying there on the floor, with something inside. Or rather, someone. As soon as he started removing the tarp, one by one, the dead bodies of 3 people came in front of him, who were killed in a terrible way. Due to the hot weather, the decomposition process sped up, making it difficult to recognize the bodies. However, it is easy for friends and family to assume that the bodies on the property belong to owner Mike, his girlfriend Nadja, and her daughter Peyton. It seems like a reasonable assumption, doesn't it? But as soon as the remains could be identified, the situation for the authorities took a devastating turn that nobody anticipated. Out of those 3 bodies, 2 bodies were actually of the people who were living there, but nobody had the clue about the 3rd body, leaving everyone to wonder who is this mysterious stranger lying dead on someone else's property. And even more terrifying, where in the world was the missing 3rd person? To solve this mystery, we have to go back in history to where it all began. Nadja Medley was a kind woman in her 40s, whose only family was her 13-year-old daughter.
Hi.
So, today I'm going to be painting her face Galaxy. Comment down below what type of video I should be making next. I have a very one...
Please don't say paint your mom.
Just paint your mom all over. Oh, God.
Ew.
Nadja worked as a massage therapist in Ogden, Utah. But after her spouse passed away in 2014, the widowed mother frequently struggled to make ends meet. In 2015, a very charming man named Gerald Bullinger, aka Mike, comes to Nadja's workplace for a massage. Both felt a special connection in the very first meeting. Mike was a catch. He was a private pilot for customers who frequently needed him to fly throughout the entire country at any given time. He was well-traveled, had a nice living, and had been divorced for 10 years. Mike showed his commitment to this newfound love by going on after-work dates and going hiking with Nadja and Peyton. He gave his girlfriend's daughter just as much attention in his life, picking her up from school, taking her out to lunch, and developing such a close relationship with her that she quickly began to call him her father. Nadja's family and friends followed her fairy tale romance on social media. Everyone could see how well Nadja's new relationship was going. But every day is not the same. Changes are visible in many relationships after some time. Apparently, Nadja asked Mike for help with her mortgage payment 2 or 3 times. Mike strongly declined, stating that they were going too fast for him to do this. Nadja knew that Mike earns above $100,000 per month, and she didn't understand why he was not helping her financially. This contentious argument became a source of conflict, and eventually caused the two to briefly split apart. But their love was like a magnet, drawing them back to one another in no time. This once casual romance required a deeper, long-term commitment. As a result, Mike decided to buy a ranch in Caldwell, Idaho. He persuaded the mother and daughter to move into the new property with him and promised that he will give them all the happiness they deserve. Nadja's status updates showed her growing excitement. Mike, Nadja, and Peyton were thrilled to begin their new life together.
We're going to Yellowstone right now. And how much longer do we have? Like, 4 hours? Okay, yeah, 4 more hours. And yeah, it's a really pretty drive though. I'm happy.
Everything was going great. Nadja and Peyton felt as if everything was a dream. And, unfortunately, it all turned out to be just a dream. Nadja had to travel back to Utah in June 2017 to pick up some of the horses Mike had bought for the ranch. Mike himself couldn't go because he was busy with his work, so Nadja took it upon herself to do the work. She did not come to pick up the horses on a fixed date. Even after 2 days, when Nadja did not show up at the location, the dealer called her but got no answer. Nadja and Peyton's family and friends started to get a little worried about the same thing. When no one was able to contact Mike either, it felt like the entire family had simply disappeared. Nadja's family dialed 911 for a welfare check at Mike's property, which brings us full circle to the authorities' horrific discovery of 3 horribly deteriorated dead bodies. You may be wondering whose bodies those were. Let's start with the odd one out. Things start to go insane at this point. Officers eventually obtained dental records to identify the unidentified third body. It was the body of a woman named Cheryl Baker. While Cheryl had no connection to Peyton or Nadja, she did have one with Mike. Cheryl Baker was Mike's wife for 7 years before she passed away unexpectedly. You heard that right. Not only did Mike cheat on his wife by starting an entirely new family, rather, he convinced his new family to live in a property which was only 8 miles away from his and his wife's house. Of course, this explains why Mike was able to live 2 lives with such ease. Mike had bought the property in his wife's name, saying that they would happily spend their post-retirement life in the beautiful countryside. In other words, Mike did not even own the property he shared with Nadja. Cheryl, who was always inventive and enjoyed crafting, dreamed of creating her own art studio in the big shed on the farm. So it's not surprising that Cheryl wanted to visit the property in June 2017. From here, we can only speculate about what happened on that fateful day. And at some point, investigators assume that Mike must have discovered that the 2 women are aware of his dark deeds. Officers believe he became violent after his entire world fell apart in an instant, and he took his rage out on not only Cheryl, but Nadja and even Peyton. When the victims' bodies were examined, it was found that all 3 had been executed by being shot in the head before their bodies were dumped in the shed. No one knows what happened on the day of the murder, except Mike, but he is nowhere to be found. Police dogs, drones, and infrared technology have all been used in the intensive search for the wanted man, but it was all in vain. Investigators believe that Mike had a head start before anyone noticed Nadja, Peyton, or Cheryl were missing. In fact, Mike had 10 days to begin his life on the run before the police were even looking for him. According to investigators, Mike spent the first 24 hours in Idaho after killing Nadja, Peyton, and Cheryl. Just the thought of him sleeping in the farmhouse with 3 dead bodies right next door in the shed is absolutely terrifying. Even one neighbor told the reporters that she had heard screams in the middle of the night around the time of the killings, but she didn't call the police since she wasn't sure if it was an animal or a woman. However, it looks like there may not have been much of a struggle that may have initially alerted anyone based on the victim's way of death. All 3 victims are thought to have been killed from a single headshot wound. This gives the sense that Mike had the time and power to carry out a cold-blooded murder. But take a look at the situation. It seems like the resulting heated debate would have been highly chaotic, regardless of whether Mike was home when his wife met his lover, or he returned home later to find the irate women waiting for him. It's unlikely that the 3 victims wouldn't have attempted to defend themselves or fight back if Mike had pulled out a gun. How then did they all die from such clean and accurate gunshot wounds? Some people theorized a scenario in which Mike was already inside the farmhouse with Nadja and Peyton when he unexpectedly noticed Cheryl's car arriving in the driveway. He may have chosen to kill Nadja and Peyton after realizing that the game was over and that he couldn't fight all 3 of them at once. But Mike didn't get time to hide the bodies, and Cheryl saw everything. As a result, he had to kill Cheryl so that there would be no witnesses to the murders. Gerald Bullinger is still wanted by the law and is still described as armed and dangerous.
I just want to be able to I don't know, have my own opinion more, be able to say stuff more. Like, if I don't want to do something, say no, I'm not going to do that. And with standing up for myself also, being able to tell people when something's like hurting me and getting them to stop. God, I need to focus. Things that'll make you happier. Like, don't just sit here saying, you know what, I'm gonna do that and it'll be great. No, do something. Actually do it. Do something that will make you happy. If you want to go talk to that hot guy at your school that you've had a crush on forever, do it. Don't just wait for the right moment, because guess what? There will never be a right moment. We don't have enough time in this world to just keep waiting for the right moment, because eventually we'll just give up. What we wanted to do won't seem important, we'll lose the interest, and we'll just live our lives not knowing, that we did that. We'll just live our lives in the what ifs, and that's not okay. You need to put yourself out there, because we have one short life, and no matter what you believe happens afterwards, we have one life, and you need to live it the way you want to, doing whatever you want to do, not what other people want you to do. Live your life the way that it makes you happy. But just listen to me. It's more important to live in the now and live like we're gonna die tomorrow than live like we have 20 years ahead of us, or however many years.